I am here in Utah. I arrived a couple days ago, and as the plane was descending, it looked like entering another planet. There were large expanses of white. There were these water bodies that were turquoise and pink, and I had no idea what I was entering, so I did a little bit of research, and we are right now about an hour and a half out of Salt Lake City at the Bonneville Salt Flats. This used to be a body of water that dried up, and what was left was salt and minerals, and some of the areas of salt are meters thick. It's just bizarre, but I really wanted to come out here and walk on these salt flats, which you can do. So here goes. I mean, it really feels like and looks like being on another planet. It's very hot. It's like 90 degrees, the sun's out, but it's not humid, it's very dry. But I can feel the heat reflecting off of this white. Like my cheeks underneath, they feel like they're getting hot, and I realize it's because of the reflection from the white. So this is, like I can hardly see with my sunglasses off. I gotta put them back on, but this, like it's salt. It looks like snow. But come down here, like right down here. So it's moist. It's funny because the sun's shining on it, but it does feel kind of moist. But it's hard, like a rock, and it's salt. Wow, this is just bizarre. And this is a 30,000 acre expanse of this. There are parts of it that have been cut, and there's like these channels of water running through, which are connected to some kind of potash collection. And those water bodies are like turquoise and purple and pink from the minerals in the ground that are adjacent to the water. It's just bizarre. Let's walk a little bit. I brought my watercolors with me. I might set up and try to paint something. It's also kind of scary. Like, because it just feels so foreign to anything that I've ever known or experienced. There's animal droppings here and there. From what? Who knows? This was one of the things about this part of the country that I've always heard about. Here in Utah, there's this expanse of such diverse geological landscape, and I've never experienced it before. And this is one of the things that I feel like is, if you come out here, you just have to see and actually stand on. Look at this. The crust of salt. I think there's an auntie over there in a sari. Her sari's blowing in the breeze. Yan auntie, solong ko. fellow countrymen so far away from home. Well, I brought my watercolors with me in the vein of a 19th century traveler coming to new ground and recording it. I love to do this when possible because it makes me really look. It makes me look at things in a very different way if I didn't have my watercolors with me. So I'm going to do a watercolor sketch, which is something that should not take a very long time. In order for this to be done, it should be done in a shaded area, not out there in the bright sun, because my body would be casting a shadow onto my paper and my palette, and I would actually probably suffer from some kind of heat exhaustion if I did this out there in the sun. So traditionally, when someone's painting on plein air, they're usually sheltered. You don't want dappled sun like through leaves onto your palette or your paper. It will also skew things. So we found a shady place over here, and I'm going to sketch out what I'm going to paint, and then I'm going to paint it. Ideally, the shaded place would be much closer to the actual flat, but you make do with what you have. So I have gone over there and really looked closely at everything. I've made a few notes in my head, and now I'm going to set up for my painting. Before I start painting, I'm actually going to wet my palette. So the palette that I travel with is not the palette that I paint with at home. This palette has pans of watercolor. So this is not the tubes of watercolor that I've squeezed into little squares. These are actual little squares of watercolor that are dry. So in preparation for painting, I have a spray bottle. I spray all my color to really moisten all the colors. And then I close it all up while I sketch so that that will start to soak while I sketch. Now I need to tape my paper, which is all cotton Arches watercolor paper. I'm going to tape this to my board. This is kind of stretching it. You always have to tape your paper down. Otherwise, if you just painted on it, it would buckle and be like all warped in the end. It's fairly windy here, so things are flying all around. With these plein air paintings, there is a lot that goes into the painting before you actually start painting. The main thing that I'm thinking of before I even stretch the paper is composition. What part of what I'm seeing am I going to paint? Am I going to paint it horizontally? Am I going to paint it vertically? And usually I'll have a little sketchbook with me, and I'll do what are called thumbnail sketches, which should take about 10 seconds, where I'll block in an idea in a little sketch. Like I'll do one on the back here. And you experiment with the thumbnails. You'll do like 3 versions, and then you'll usually pick from your thumbnail what the best composition is. So what I would do is, if I had my sketchbook with me, I would draw out the rectangular proportions of this. So let's put one this way. Those are about the proportions. Let's put one this way. Let's do 2 of each. Okay? And then this. So now, composition-wise, I am not going to paint this parking lot, which is mostly what I'm seeing right now. This is why, if I was really doing this, I would ideally be right on the salt, but I'm not. So I'm going to imagine. So what I'm going to place first is, where is that mountain line? Let's do one where the mountain line is here. Okay, and then I'm going to start my mountains from there, and I want to get a little bit of this flat part. So let's put the flat part over there. It starts to come up, and then there's a bit of mountain there, and then there's that. And then I sketch this in. That's the dark mountain, and at the back is a little bit of a light mountain. Okay? That's one thumbnail. Now look how much it changes if I put the horizon line down here. So now this would be the salt. Maybe I'll move it over a little bit so that the peak of the mountain is there. And it goes like this. That's the dark mountain. And a lighter mountain in the background. Things get lighter as they go further in the distance. They also get slightly bluer. So the mountains in the back look bluer than the mountains in the front. So see how different those are? Now let's try this horizontally. So maybe I would put my, if I want to make it very dramatic and make all this salt, then maybe I would do that and do my peak over here like that and like that. And let's try one more where it's mostly sky now. Okay, so there's my mountains. And then a bit of sky. What do we like? What do we choose? What do we think is the most compelling? That's what this thumbnail stuff is all about. Trying different things to actually look at them and to very quickly say, what is the most compelling? You know, I initially started with this because this is what I thought I was going to paint. And this is what the novice does, is think, salt, let me paint mostly the salt. That's not always, although the salt is the jewel, doesn't mean that it should take up most of the page. So this is why a thumbnail is so valuable. Had I not done this, I would have just started to draw this on the paper. When I look at this, the interesting thing is the thing that I didn't even think about a lot is actually the most compelling. And look, the salt is going to take up 1/5 of the page. But that is actually the most interesting sketch. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to do this quickly. This is not fuss potting, and I don't know how this is going to turn out because that salt is so white. So this is part of the fun. This is part of the thrill of painting watercolors, especially as a novice. Okay, because there's wind, I close everything up so that it doesn't fly away. I am looking out here. I'm going to mark my horizon line here. This is like my thumbnail, remember. This is the salt. I am going to I'm going to make my mountains the same kind of height as that salt. There, and right about here is that mountain range in the back. Kind of, let's peek over here, goes here, and starts to go up. And over here, another mountain range begins. Okay. There we go. So I've laid it out very roughly in a light pencil. This is a 2H pencil. It says 2H. That's a hard pencil, which creates lighter lines. That's for the rough layout. And now, when I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with what I laid out, I take a darker pencil. So a 2B is a softer, darker pencil. This says 2B. And I am going to spend more time on the actual mountain range. So I have this here, like this. There's a peak there. It actually goes up like this, down, like that, sort of horizontal, down like this, and then like this. And this comes out from here and goes like this, higher before it goes down. This over here goes, oh, what's the angle of that? Oh, it's about 25 or 30 degrees. Oh, I'm right. So this is how I check. Hold my pencil up at the angle of that slope, and I bring it down to my page. It's the same. Because if I held it like this and I come back to my paper and I've drawn it like this, I would redraw it. And then I'm going to go this little bit is like this, and this is like this, there, and we have this line here, our horizontal salt line. Okay, clouds over here. So now I've put my sketch in. I am going to look at where all of that is blue, comes down, we have a cloud line to the horizon, and it starts to fade to a warmer, yellower color. This is white, really white, glaringly white. So I'm going to leave the paper, the white is going to be the white of the paper. So now we mix our colors. Sometimes when I've finished painting a watercolor study, I won't clean my palette because I'm going to come back to it to paint something else. And sometimes I happen to need exactly the colors that are on this part of the palette, which is why I don't clean it. Today, I will be using different colors, so I do need to start kind of afresh. I probably will go in here later on for details, so I won't clean it fully over there. We'll use some of that. It's this part down here that I really should clean properly because I don't want these colors to taint what I will need for this new painting. So, the first color that I need is cerulean blue or a cobalt for my sky. Nope, not that one. You know, I don't use this palette very much, so I've forgotten what the actual colors are. Is it this one? No. And the watercolor will always dry lighter. So I need to mix it heavier than I think it's going to be. Just going to dry lighter. Okay, the other color that I'm going to mix is just sort of a neutral warm color for my mountain range. And this is just a base color for that mountain range, which is going to transition. There's a very important transition between the actual mountains and the land. It's not just a clean line. There is a little bit of a sort of a gradation. So anticipating that, I'm going to get a brush ready with just some water. Okay? I'm also going to put in some clouds. Oh, actually, I do need to mix a kind of warmer blue for that. For the bottom of where the sky transitions into warm, it's warm, it's warm. Sometimes this is, well, not sometimes. This is not easy. Even something simple as just painting that sky can be tricky, tricky, tricky. Let's do that. That's going to be where the sky goes from blue to those warmer clouds, which it might be wrong. Okay, let's go for it. We go for it. Gradation. Gets lighter as it goes down. So I add water because if I add water as I go down, it's going to dilute the paint, which will make it lighter as it goes down. And still more. And at about here is where we'll start to pick up some of this warmer color for those clouds. Need more. I did not mix enough. Marcelo always says, mix more than you need. And here we go. I didn't mix enough. He's always right. The teacher's always right. Okay. And there's a bit of blue down here. There. I'm going to lift some of this off where there's cloud. Okay. While that's wet, I am going to go into my mountain colors. Those mountains are much bluer back there, but that's okay. We'll come to that later. And then I get my water brush for this line right here. That's that transitionary line that I was talking about. And I'm going to get some plain water and just do this. The salt is brighter further away where the sun is really shining on it. So I am just pulling away some of that. I'm not going to do too much more to this. This should be the brightest thing that kind of pops out. And I'm noticing now that my clouds back here are the same as this, which is bad. Because when you look at this, the white is really the salt. Everything is kind of darker. So I might go over this a little bit. It's always dangerous to go over, because you never know what's going to happen. Again, it's going to dry lighter, so I'm aware of that it's going to dry lighter. And now what I'm going to do while this dries is I'm going to mix the color of the mountains. The mountains closest to us are a warm shade. They're kind of pinkier, more ochre. The mountains at the back, although they're probably made up of the same thing, as I said, when things go further back, they get bluer. Like those mountains over there, they're very far away. Those are blue. Like if I was going into my palette, I would mix a blue shade to paint that. So over here, those are further away than the ones at the back here, but those are still blue compared to the ones in the front. And the beauty here is the contrast between this hill here and this. This is pink and this is blue. So I'm going to try to capitalize on that beauty by making that contrast. The mountains at the back are also lighter than the mountains towards us because things that are closer get deeper in color, things that are further away are more faded and lighter. So I'm going to get a thinner brush. Let's see here. I'm going to get a brush that's this size. Yeah. And I'm going to mix a blue shade. No, that's the wrong blue, idiot. Same, wrong. What are you doing? So, this is blue. This is also blue. Oh, this is very blue. It's more turquoisey blue. Yeah, it's more turquoisey. And there's a little bit of purple in there too. It's like a turquoisey purpley. Oh, turquoise there. Turquoisey purpley. So they are darker at the top, the mountains at the back, and lighter at the bottom. And there's a little bit of warmth at the bottom. So I'm going to go like this. And some of those edges are not sharp, so if I add water, it just blurs them a little bit, which is a good thing. go into this neutral color that I have and make a kind of transition to down here. My water brush, blur some of those edges there and over there. Some color here. Okay. And I'm going to do the same over here. So, okay, that's good enough. Again, they're very far back. This is not the focus of the painting. I want to obscure them. I don't want to make them very detailed. Now I'm going to paint this. I'm going to pick the sort of the overall color of the base before putting in the dark parts. I want these to be warm, kind of pinky. Oh, sorry, I need to blow my nose. So, what we have here is it's so much more neutral in color. It is warm, but it's neutral. So we need to put in the opposite colors to bring it down. Kind of lovely. There's my little nappy there. You're going to use the water. Like, oh, it's actually like here. I made a little mistake. So it's like that. It's very thin over here. Okay. Okay. Darks are like purpley, purpley blues. And blue. See, because we're out here in a very hot, dry climate, look, my colors have dried up. So I always have to remember to re-moisten my palette. I need a bit of this, a bit of that red in there, a little bit of this. Okay. Get a nice brush to wet things. Some water here, there. nice line over here. This back here is bluer. Oh shit, that's too blue. You can go darker, but it's very hard to remove it when you've gone too dark, so that's the word of caution. Okay, that's it. Quick sketch summarizing what I'm seeing. It's not snow, it's a salt flat. And you know what it did? It made me look. I mean, whether or not this is very accurate or not, it really made me look. It's part of the thrill of painting in real life.